control and cajole other people to affirm us and tell us we're okay or tell us we're great. That was certainly part of my story, it was all about the audience and what did other people think of me. And it's only in my 30s and really my 40s now where I've started to understand that I can only give out of the abundance that's inside of me, right? I can only love others truly and authentically to the extent that I love myself. And I think I grew up in a context where loving oneself often was sort of associated with selfishness or self-absorption or those kinds of things. But I think there's something important there, and yet it's also difficult to put into words.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, that's really the root, is self-love and self-acceptance and caring for oneself. Opens up like the possibility of a hopeful future and the ability to contribute to others and give to others, which creates a sense of community, right?
Yeah.
It's like until I have a deep sense of acceptance and love and appreciation for myself and who I am and what I have to offer and bring to others, like it's very difficult to build community in an authentic way. It's like everything, a lot of times in my first 30 years or so, anything that I tried to build or create was somewhat short-lived because there was a superficiality to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a surfaceness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was me trying to cultivate the acceptance and favor of others.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have this fundamental grounding in who I am or what kind of person I want to be or what just the goodness that exists inside of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was always trying to curry favor and acceptance and status. And so it's only been really in the last several years that I feel like there's been a new depth, right,
Mm-hmm.
to my work. And so again, a long answer to a relatively simple question. I just hope somehow that the way I choose to live and the experience people have of me, my friends, my clients, the people I work with, that somehow it points them towards that, right?
Yeah.
That there's that there is, I don't know, that more people can recognize that, maybe sooner than I have. I think it's part of my dream for my kids, and when I see sort of examples of my kids and them showing up fully with confidence kind of in who they are and who they're not,
Yeah.
and loving themselves, it's like the best thing to see in your children.
Yeah.
Because I could rattle off just so many stories and examples of how this need for others' affirmation has negatively affected my work, my community building, my relationships, all those things. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I think that a deep insecurity is part of certainly an offshoot of hopelessness, right? When I don't feel at place within myself,
yeah,
it's very hard for me to feel at place
yeah,
in the world around me.
yeah.
So if we had, I know we're coming to the end here, but if we had to distill this down to advice, someone's listening in, and maybe they're a young person who's like, well, I'm not experiencing love in my life. Maybe they're coming from a broken home, or they're displaced, and they feel like the world's really letting them down. Or it's a parent of that child who's like, I'm trying to send the love messages to this broken, hurting person, but they're a colander, and the message is falling through, and I can't get through the wall, or if I do, the bucket's not holding water.
Yeah.
You're bringing a really important message to the table, which is absolutely love's obviously the axiomatic underlying answer.
Yeah.
It's just the conduit and frequency of expression becomes like the battlegrounds, right?
Yeah.
How do we actually get this message out there that you're loved, you're held, to be alive is a gift.
Yeah.
Do something with it, right? Rather than any of the other nihilistic worldviews that are antithetical to that.
Yeah.
What advice would you like to leave behind for some of our listeners, old and young? the impact that you're hoping to have.
Mm. Well, that's tough. That's tough.
And I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it, because I just wanna reflect back to you.
Okay.
You've already done that for me.
Mm.
So to the degree that I think of, you know, the journey of our friendship,
Mm.
and, you know, the moments that you've reached out to me when I've been at a crossroads or at the bottom,
Mm.
or finding the bottom, right, in my own journey.
Yeah.
Like, you've given me a window into unconditional love
Mm.
that absolutely led me breadcrumbs back to my own, you know, spiritual re-enlightenment, and being able to, you know, re-engage in my relationship with God
Mm.
on the tail end of, you know, deconstructing all the religious mess that I had to make sense of, right? That basically had to be decomposed
Yeah.
from my upbringing in order to arrive at something that was like true and honest and authentic, and didn't feel like a problem waiting to be addressed down the road.
Yeah.
And so I just want to reflect back, like, you're already doing it. This isn't putting you on the stand saying, Chris, are you living your life mission?
Mm.
But just, I know that there's gonna be someone hearing this saying, I wanna do that too,
Mm.
right? Like, I love that message, I love that mission. You've learned a thing or two on your journey of coming to this place.
Yeah.
Anything that's been helpful for you?
I think a big recurring theme in my life right now, in all areas, is the power and the virtue of honesty. And, you know, honesty is a knife that cuts both ways, right? For me to show up fully and be completely honest with my friends, with my wife, with my kids, with my downline employees. I just recorded a video about a downline employee being really honest with me and calling me out on my bullshit, right? When we choose to live honestly, to show up fully, we invite that same honesty in return. And so I think honesty can be a really transformational virtue to choose to live in if we open ourselves up to it. Not just, like, I remember there's this great show called Lie to Me.
Oh yeah, that is
That
a great show.
And one of the supporting actors, he was a really funny character, but a few episodes in a row, he was into this whole radical honesty movement.
Yeah.
And so he was just saying everything that came off the top of his head, and that's not necessarily what I'm referring to, right? We say all the vulgar and inappropriate things that just happen to be in our mind. But I think, like, living out of honesty as a virtue is saying, I'm gonna be present and authentic to what's really happening in my life and my real lived experience with other people. And I'm also going to open myself up to learn from other people by them sharing with me honestly. And so I just think honesty is one of those things that any of us, regardless of whether we're happy, sad, we feel hopeful, hopeless, like, part of the answer is honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of courage, I've found. It's a little scary. It's, but yet it's transformational, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my best piece of advice is find ways in your life right now that maybe you are posturing, positioning, withholding, obfuscating, hiding, and choose to be more transparent.
Yeah.
And authentic and honest with the people around you, and invite them to do the same. And dramatic shifts, I've seen in my own life, dramatic shifts can happen very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, as a result of that,
Yeah.
it's powerful.
I love that, man. So, just one last follow-up question, and I'll open up for any other things you might want to share.
Yeah.
Let's say that message is striking a note, and someone's feeling their heartbeat of like, oh my gosh, I'm not keeping it real in this arena. Like, I have this category of shame. It's the thing that I hide or I'm fronting around. I know I need to either step up or, what a New Testament adage, right? Confess your sins one to another. That's the path. The truth will set you free, right? Ultimately is the motivation. So you face the terror, the cave you fear to enter, right? The vulnerability, the openness, the conversation with the spouse or with the business partner, or friend or family. It holds the treasure you seek, which is the freedom, the authenticity, the connection. But there's a terror gap, which is why not everyone does it.
Yeah.
So any parting encouragement on how to muster the courage to trend towards honesty where perhaps it's been withheld in the past.
Boy. You know, Kara and I will have been married 25 years in March, okay?
Now we're into the good stuff.
And here's the reality. In our minds and in conversation, we've thought of or considered divorce 1,000 times. And the only salvation that we've found, and the only path to wholeness and actual joy and satisfaction in our marriage, has been honesty. And there is no silver bullet to lessen the awkwardness, the embarrassment, like the suffering that comes from honesty. It's like the grand yin and yang to all things in this universe that we experience in life is that you cannot have pleasure without the suffering. You can't. There is no such thing. You cannot have joy, satisfaction, pleasure, fulfillment without, I believe, a commensurate amount of suffering. I was talking to a buddy recently about this. In fact, we just had a podcast episode air on Head, Heart, and Boots. It's called Love and Marriage, okay? And I talk about this. My wife and I were on a vacation for 9-10 days in Alaska. 5 of those days we were car camping together. And several moments of this trip were punctuated by marital bliss and connection, romance, love, affection, all this kind of stuff. And there was a fair bit of friction and strife, so much so that 2 weeks later, last night, Kara and I spent like an hour and a half kind of processing through some strife and some disconnect and coldness that both of us were experiencing during that trip. And it was just yet another reminder, and I talk about this in this podcast episode, that I believe that all relationships, yours and mine, like marriage relationship, our relationship with our children, can get better and better and deeper, but they don't get easier. It's like the deeper I want to go, the more willing I have to be to suffer. It's like the more honest, the more transparent, the more direct, the more present I want to be with that person, which unlocks intimacy and unlocks pleasure and joy and experience with that person. I am also inevitably venturing into a space where we are going to hurt each other more gravely as we figure that out. And not to be too woo-woo, I'm not a Buddhist, but this is kind of a Zen Buddhist concept, this idea of yin and yang, but I just keep seeing it over and over and over in my life. Is that there is no, there's a well-trodden path, but there is no way to time travel to this new state. It's like you have to go through the underbrush. You have to you're going to get snagged by some thorns. If you're going to be honest, there's going to be pain. And so instead, I think what a lot of us do is we avoid honesty and we decide to numb what other resulting pain comes. And we miss out on a lot of the joy, a lot of the deep connection and intimacy. I think it's a big thing happening in our world. Is there's so much fakery. We miss out, we subdue some of the pain, but the consequence is we also lose the intimacy. We lose the joy. That there's levels to life. And if you want to access these higher levels, you're also going to have deep levels of pain you encounter along the way.
Gosh, that is really
You know what I mean?
That's really good. I'm just reflecting back when I'm hearing, and in the concept of solving placelessness, one of the tenets of isolation is this terror of getting too close because I'm going to get hurt. And it's almost like one of the antidotes to this epidemic of isolation is just getting really clear on who do you wanna hurt with? Because the inevitability
What
of,
kind of hurt do you want? Loneliness or the hurt of connection?
exactly, pick your pain,
Yeah.
pick your pain, and the pain you choose is better than the one that you inherit,
Yeah.
passively, for sure. Cause at least you have a say in the matter, but I really respect that perspective, and I think that, I hope that, even if it's not the daisies and roses encouragement, rah rah fluff, right? It is real that to be close, you must sign up for who you wanna hurt with.
Oh, it's the most powerful truth I've found
Yeah.
thus far.
Well, for the sake of time, we're gonna have to put a pin on that, putting it there, just because I wanna honor both of our busy schedules. Inevitably,
Yeah.
we're neighbors, it would behoove us to probably do a part two to
Yeah.
this conversation.
Oh, for sure.
But I just wanna say thank you for your contributions to solving placelessness in our community, right? Your version of it matters. And it's a massive umbrella term and umbrella movement by design,
Yeah.
because, we need more things that we're working together to solve,
Yeah.
right? And, I just wanna give a shout out to your business partner, Brandon. Probably you'll see an episode coming down the road of him too.
Yeah.
In fact, definitely, because he agreed to sit down with me.
Tim's wearing it down.
Yeah, I've learned it down for sure. Yeah, it's been a long process, but, and then eventually, obviously, the two of you guys, having a good conversation will be inevitably on the horizon. But I just wanted to say thank you for, your time today, and I just wanna give a few shout outs before we go, to some of our sponsorships that we're gifting today. So one of them is, I wanna give a thank you to Corvallis Waldorf School. I'm biased in that my daughter goes there, but I also have a unique perspective because my daughter goes there and has since she was young. She's moving into third grade this year, and I think what a lot of people don't understand about the Corvallis Waldorf School is that, especially as it relates to creating a sense of home for young people and really emphatically investing into hope for the future, we're highlighting them today as a core to solving placelessness in our community as a great option for education. We know, it goes without saying, you look at the fact that schools are closing down in town, that either kids are not showing up here in town, or they're moving to homeschooling or private schooling. So a couple really great private school options to consider, one of them being Corvallis Waldorf School, another being Ashbrook, which I'll talk about in a moment. My experience though, having my daughter at Corvallis Waldorf School has been that her love for art and learning has been so fiercely protected. Rather than, the typical learning model of you better, learn the materials so you can pass the test so you can kind of be on some sort of gradient of
Her
success.
level of confidence too, brother.
Yeah.
Like when I interact with Maisie, there's a level of self-confidence
Yeah.
that she brings to adult conversations that I know is partly because of who you are too. She gets some of this from you, but it's pretty clear she's in an environment where she's encouraged independence.
Yeah.
And exploration is encouraged. I think that creates a lot of confidence in kids.
Absolutely, we're all little creators, we've been
Yeah.
endowed with this, the creative, power to be alive and to create life and bring life into the world, and I just think that the more we can do to inspire the incoming generation to harness and own and realize that power, her confidence in art is what translates in my mind over to confidence in conversation and in co-creating things. So, I have a deep love for, obviously my daughter's education journey and care for that. And just to hold things in balance, like I am a board member, obviously, for Corvallis Waldorf School, so I'm constantly trying to help keep the school healthy and get people signed up there. As another option, just because I want to be unbiased in recommending alternative education to our community, we talked a lot in our interviews today about the incoming generation, and I think some critical advice that would be specifically applied to young people, which is choose your pain, pick your discipline, pick your people, pick your connections, it matters. And I just want to give another shout out to Ashbrook Independent School. I have my experience into that organization has been by proxy being invited to speak at the TEDx coming up that they're hosting on September 19th, shameless plug, be there 10 to 12. I think there's 400 people there, 400 seats.
Incredible.
They've sold 350 tickets already, RSVP, so there's only 50 left, so we should probably put in a link to get people to sign up to that. But I'll be talking about solving placelessness. And I just think it is so impressive for staff to go out of their way to go through the, arduous process to get on TEDx. Like, that's not easy.
Yeah.
For a town like Corvallis to host a TEDx, that's kind of rare. And they're doing that because they believe in really protecting ideas we're sharing. And I've seen that trickle down. I know some of the leadership there. So I just wanted to give them as a shout out, for people that look at the, Corvallis education system. We have so many hardworking teachers that are doing the best with what they've been handed. But it's a tough job. And for parents that have gotten disillusioned with public school for, any number of reasons, especially with recent political shifts, there's some great private school options for you guys to consider. You're right here in the Mid-Valley in Corvallis that I would really strongly encourage you to check out. As someone who's homeschooled growing up, there's pros and cons,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of pressure on the parents.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're finding yourself in that camp and you're like, maybe we need a little extra support, some hybrid, private school might be an option for you. And those schools have been really cool about, especially Waldorf, around meeting families where they're at financially. So don't roll out the price tag that you see on the front end. Please schedule a tour. Thank you guys for tuning in for our podcast today. I just wanted to reflect a few things back of what I heard from you, Chris.
Yeah.
Take your pain. It matters. Who you hurt with, it matters. You know there's gonna be pain. And if you could leave behind a legacy of love, sounds like that'll be sufficient for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be sufficient for a lot of us. I think if we're like, well, if I only leave around one thing to helping people find their place in this world while they're here, it was that hopefully they felt a little bit more love along the way. So think about that for your own lives. As you're coming and going today, as you're finding your place in this world, I encourage you today, what's one thing you could do to leave it a little better off having lived today and having been here? Thanks for being a part of the Find Your Place movement. Thank you for helping us solve placelessness by tuning into the conversation, letting it impact you, encourage you, maybe even challenge you. Honesty is tough, but we heard some reasons as to why it is paramount to lean into telling the truth and living as candid as possible, especially in your core relationships. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Like I said, we're experimenting with the Find Your Place podcast, so please, comment whatever your feedback is and share it as you may. If you're interested in being on an episode with us, if you like the conversation and like the format, you can hit us up. Also, we're looking for sponsorship, so see you guys next time. That's a wrap.
I gotta join the Salesforce support call
Yeah.
here.
All right.
Thanks, brother. That was fun, dude.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Layla, good to see you.